The 7 deadly sins: greed, lust, wrath, pride, gluttony, envy, and sloth. In honor of the new season of House of the Dragon, which is set to release in summer 2024, I'd like to talk about the 7 characters who I feel exemplify each sin within the show. Please note that there will not be spoilers in this video for season 2, and this video will only be based on the show and not on the books at all. Let's start with lust. Lust can be defined as an intense or unbridled sexual desire. For me, no character exemplifies lust more than Sir Larys Strong, Clubfoot as Andrew Schultz calls him. Sir Larys is a cripple who needs a walking stick to move around. He's from House Strong, is the son of Lionel Strong, a council member on Viserys' council, and the brother of Sir Harwin Strong, aka Breakbones, and Rhaenyra's baby daddy. Sir Larys is smart, cunning, and conniving, but he is not without his vices. Larys is loyal to Queen Alicent and does her bidding, and in return she lets him, how do I say this, choke the chicken, you know? She lets him beat off to her feet, basically. I ain't nothing wrong with the foot fetish, man. You like what you like. But Larys Strong has tortured people, had people injured. Hell, he even set up the murder of his own father and brother by having them burnt alive in his childhood home, all in the name of Queen Alicent's feet. Also, he can stroke one out while she sits there uncomfortably looking away. Now, if that's not the personification of a sin and its ability to get someone to do horrible things, then I don't know what is. Our second character could also be a contender for this sin, but exemplifies the next sin much better, and that sin is wrath. Wrath can be defined as feelings or emotions of rage, anger, and even hatred that is uncontrollable. And I'm sure we'll all agree that nobody exemplifies this sin better than Prince Daemon Targaryen himself. Daemon is a fan favorite among many House of the Dragon fans, but he is not without his faults. I think one of the things people like about watching Daemon is that you can never quite predict what he's gonna do. His temper and inability to stay calm in tense situations has overtaken his better judgment on many occasions throughout the series. It's a wonder this guy is still alive. On 2 occasions, Daemon nearly started a war by drawing his sword with the intent to kill Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King. If it hadn't been for Rhaenyra stepping in to stop him, he probably would have. On another occasion, Daemon beat a messenger to the brink of death during a war. The crazy part is, the messenger didn't insult him at all. He just brought a message to Daemon from his brother the king that reinforcements were being sent to help him in the war effort. Mind you, Daemon was losing the war badly and only beat up the messenger because his pride couldn't handle the fact that his big brother had to step in to help him. He was so frustrated and angry that he unleashed his wrath on the poor messenger. He then proceeded to attack the enemy single-handedly, but that's a story for another video. The final instance where Daemon let his wrath get the better of him was when he strangled Rhaenyra, the person who's always calming him down and stopping him from starting wars. Funny enough, the reason why he strangled her was because she had been cheated out of her right to the throne, and Daemon wanted to go to war right away. But Rhaenyra was hesitant. Yes, Daemon is wild, unpredictable, and aggressive, but he really does mean well. Unlike our next character, who is the embodiment of gluttony. Gluttony can be defined as the overindulgence of anything to the point of waste, and nobody exemplifies this sin better than Prince Aegon. Aegon is a scumbag within the show, and there really isn't much of an argument against that. He is the embodiment of gluttony, but honestly, he qualifies for like 3 of the sins on this list. It is well known that Aegon is a drunk and overindulgent prince who ignores his duties and overall just a horrible person.
Let me go! I have no wish to rule, no taste for duty, I'm not suited.
Gluttony is exemplified by overindulgence, and Aegon has many indulgencies. He frequents the Street of Silk, a part of King's Landing where there are many brothels and bars, and he has even fathered bastards as seen in the show. He spends money on fights in Flea Bottom, where children as young as 10 years old are forced to fight each other while people bet on them. And despite his many exploits with women who work in brothels, he only rarely sleeps with his wife when he's drunk, which he usually is throughout the show. Aegon is very different to those in his family, and the next character is in his family and represents envy. Envy can be defined as an insatiable desire for the talents, abilities, and possessions of others. Now this one was pretty hard to decide, but to me the character who exemplifies this is Prince Aemond Targaryen.
It is I, the younger brother, who studies history and philosophy. It is I who trains with the sword, who rides the largest dragon in the world. It is I who should be...
That scene for me perfectly explains my point. Aemond is envious of his brother's birthright. He was also envious of the fact that his siblings, nieces and nephews, had dragons growing up and he didn't. But we all know how that ended, so good on him for not letting that childhood setback define him. An honorable mention for envy is Sir Criston Cole. Aemond is envious, yes, but he is also very hardworking, ruthless, and disciplined, unlike our next character, who represents the sin of sloth. Sloth can be defined as laziness, but it can also be defined as inaction. To me, nobody really exemplifies this sin, other than King Viserys Targaryen. Viserys isn't necessarily lazy in the traditional sense, like he doesn't spend all his time eating, drinking, and sleeping around, like his son Aegon. But he definitely shies away from solving problems and addressing the elephant in the room. This constant inaction and lack of problem-solving skills is why he exemplifies the sin of sloth. Viserys just doesn't know how to nip things in the bud. Instead, he ignores them, brushes them off, and small issues that could have been solved quickly with one decisive action fester into large issues. Examples of this are plenty. Viserys ignored the issue of his succession for a long time at the start of the season. He was reluctant to help the Velaryons in the war at the Stepstones, even though the Velaryons were a powerful ally to the crown. And most of all, he never once addressed the fact that his daughter was blatantly cheating on her husband and fathering bastards left, right, and center.
Is how unstrong my father.
Now in Rhaenyra's defense, her husband didn't exactly swing that way, so there's not much she could do. But Viserys could have addressed the problem straight away and maybe found a solution. In a way, the conflict that is ensuing in the show is mainly happening because of Viserys' inability to make decisions and be a strong leader. But being decisive is not something that our next character lacks, and he is the embodiment of greed. Greed can be defined as the insatiable desire for material things, wealth, and power. Nobody exemplifies this, quite like Otto Hightower. Otto is basically the Tywin Lannister of this season, though, let's be honest guys, Tywin Lannister is him, and Otto can't be compared to him. They're similar, but Tywin is better. Anyway, Otto wants power more than anything, and loves the Game of Thrones. But honestly speaking, he isn't playing the game for any reason. His wife is dead and his daughter married, and he has no other family. He's already a very wealthy and accomplished man, but his greed pushes him on to acquire more and more wealth and power, simply for power's sake. Otto loves power, but doesn't care about whether or not he is the one who gets the credit for being powerful, which is very different to our final character, who has the worst sin of all, pride. Pride is considered as the most demonic and the worst cardinal sin on many lists. It is also considered as the mother of sins and the source of many of the other sins. Pride can be defined as a narcissistic love for one's own excellence and reputation. In other words, a proud person is someone who puts their achievements and their status above all things. To me, nobody quite represents this sin quite like Lord Corlys Velaryon, the Lord of the Tides and Master of Driftmark. I honestly have nothing against Corlys. I think he's pretty cool, and I admire his relentless ambition. But when I started working on this video, I realized that Corlys cares about his name and family's reputation more than just about anything. He seems to care about his family's reputation even more than he cares about his actual family. Examples of this are plenty, but I'll only give a few. Corlys married Rhaenys so his children could be dragon riders, and so that his family's status could be raised. Plus, he'd have a shot at the Iron Throne with his children. He offered his 10-year-old daughter to a 40-year-old king in the hopes that she could become queen one day. He didn't care that Rhaenyra's illegitimate children did not share his family's blood, but would inherit Driftmark. I mean, Corlys is a black man with white hair, and you want me to believe that he was convinced that this was his grandson? Come on. Despite this, Corlys didn't mind, so long as House Velaryon looked good. In his own words, history remembers names, not blood. But worst of all, Corlys sided with the blacks, the same people who killed his little brother, and he arranged for his daughters to be married to the illegitimate children of Rhaenyra, essentially wiping out his bloodline. To him though, It doesn't matter, so long as the name Velaryon is forever remembered. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing for more videos like this. Have a good day.